Hey guys, so your trigger warnings for this episode are going to be rape and suicide. If you can't handle that, understandably, you might as well just skip this episode because there's going to be some talk on that. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.
How awful.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Guess what?
What?
It's Biden month.
We made it, guys.
We made it.
We made it.
We made it. Almost. Almost. We're in the month.
We are.
Where the thing happens.
We're here. We're ready.
We're just holding out hope for Georgia.
See what happens.
To kick out McConnell as majority leader.
Yes, please. I'm Tanya Lee.
I'm B.
Welcome. I hope you guys had a splendid holiday.
We had a splendid COVID safe holiday.
We did. We quarantined
with our family.
It was very boring, but blissfully
exactly
boring.
How it should be.
Yes, blissfully boring.
Me and my mom watched a season and a half of Gilmore Girls in 3 days.
Like gasp.
That's productive.
You know,
that's not including the entire. We watched it backwards. We watched the entire revival.
Right, that's right. You said
and
that.
Then we watched a season and a first season and half of second season.
And then it was like, you know what? Let's just go back in time.
Because my mom didn't remember anything.
Yeah, but Jess comes in so late.
We got to Jess.
Because he's season 2, right?
We got to Jess.
Yeah, that's all I care about.
Here's my problem. I'm a fake bitch, clearly, because every time I watch it, I flip. I'm a flip-flopper.
Were you like Dean this time?
I was watching it and I was understanding the merit of Dean again, even though he turns into a whiny little brat.
He does turn into a whiny brat. I just don't
like how... First season Dean is just so adorable.
He is. He's very cute. And I just don't like how possessive he gets.
No.
Because Rory's her own woman. She makes her own decisions.
Yes.
She's a free bitch. Baby. Yeah, anyway, here we are. We're back. Hope you guys didn't miss us too terribly.
We have one more day of 2020 in our present.
Currently,
when you're listening to this, we are still in 2020. You're in the future. I returned to work today.
You did. You made the epic return. I will return to work on Monday.
I say wah wah. I don't dislike my job. It's just that if I could make money not working, that'd be ideal.
Oh, absolutely. Why do you think, hey, while you're at it, check out patreon.com/podcast.
Hey, let's just plug that at the beginning of the show instead of waiting for the end.
We would love to make money doing this rather than doing a real job.
Absolutely would.
So check out our Patreon page. Come support us.
I'm still going to have a real job.
Yeah, but
I want to make extra money. I want to have real job money coming from a second place.
Well,
my brother informed me that he needs to be on the podcast ASAP to clear up the falsities in my mom's episode. He said he was listening to it, and he was halfway through, and he just kept going, nope, 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 nope. So apparently my mom's memory of what happened at his home is false.
Or just not the same.
He just full on noped it, so I don't know. I mean, I
don't want to discredit that episode, though.
I don't want to discredit it either, and I'm sure he won't completely. I don't know. He might, but he's gonna clear it up. He's gonna buy a microphone.
Great.
We're gonna figure out how to Skype record because my brother lives in Bufu nowhere, Michigan.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. He'll be our next guest.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe February.
Yeah.
Or end of January.
Yeah, whenever he's free.
He's always free.
Great. Then maybe
he's
next
self-employed.
Week.
But we have to. He said wait till the new year so he can afford to buy his mic. But then he's going to clarify and probably spend an hour roasting me for filth.
Great.
It'll be great.
I love it.
He's like, right.
Do you think he thinks I'm cool?
Darn
it.
But you were always his favorite friend of mine.
That's good.
But he also found you the least annoying, which I find interesting.
That's really confusing because I was probably the most annoying. Yes, I'm still the most annoying.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, 1000%.
But also probably because you were the only one who didn't have a crush on him.
No,
so he didn't feel weird about being around you.
That's fair. No, I did not give any Fs.
No Fs given towards Nathan.
He was like my brother. Ew, gross.
immediately. You're
Yes.
like, that is my friend's mother. Not mother.
Your mother is very long.
My brother is almost 6'5".
Yeah, he's very long.
He doesn't make sense in our family. 5'10" dad.
Yeah.
5'3" mom.
Yep.
I'm 5'6", and then there's 6'4" Nathan.
But you guys, B will tell you over
I'm
and
tall.
over again. She's very tall.
I'm tall. Google it. Google it. 5'6" is above average height for a girl. I just thought I was small my whole life because all my friends and family are big people.
Your mom is not a big...
No, but my brother, big person. My best friend, that makes you sound like you're large and in charge. I just mean tall person.
I'm a long person.
I'm surrounded by trees. I am Maddie Healy.
Nobody's going to get that
No.
reference. Oh,
I am not short. I'm just surrounded by tree people.
Anyways.
Right.
What did you pull? True crime?
I pulled true crime. You pulled serial killers.
So it's going to be a crime?
It's going to be gruesome.
Me. Oh, mine is a real...
Yeah, mine's, yeah. Yeah.
Awful. Awful.
We're going to dive into the world of incels.
Am I going to know what yours is?
I don't know. You might. I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know what mine was either, so I don't think you'll know.
Does the name Elliot Rodger ring a bell? Or the Isla Vista killings?
Nope.
No.
Let's dive in.
Elliot Rodger was born, not Rogers.
Just one Roger.
Just one Roger.
One Roger
A singular Roger.
Okay.
Named Elliot.
Hi, Moosh.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. Was born July 24th, 1991 to Hollywood filmmaker Peter Rodger. Do you know who that is?
No.
I don't either. And Lee Chin in London, England.
Okay.
The family relocated when Elliot was 5 to Los Angeles, where Elliot had an idyllic childhood, describing it as happy and fair. That's how I would describe mine. Happy and fair.
How was your childhood?
Fair.
Oh, it was fair. That's like the word fine.
Yeah, it's fair.
That's fine.
Fine. Fair.
Fine.
Peter described his son as happy and sweet, that he'd laugh so hard he'd choke. He said although his son showed OCD tendencies, such as having to place his dinner plate in one specific spot and wear the same clothes every day, as well as suspicions he had Asperger's syndrome that was never formally diagnosed, his son had no violent or cruel habits.
So he wasn't on the, what was it called? The
McDonald triad.
Yes, thank you.
No bedwetting, no animal cruelty, no fire.
Interesting.
Yeah. At the age of 7, Lee and Peter divorce and things start to change for Elliot.
That does it for kids. At
age 9, he admits to feeling different from the cool kids, that he's the shortest in his class, yet he doesn't seem to be disliked.
How tall is he?
He never said. It doesn't say.
Oh, is he in our money height or not?
We no. You're not going to want to date Elliot.
No, probably not.
He gets a skateboard and goes to the school dance. He's labeled as quiet, so he joins an AOL chat room to fill the void from lack of social interaction. In a 137-page manifesto sent to his psychologist and parents later in life, titled My Twisted World, he writes about middle school. Elliot cites an incident that scarred him for life where he accidentally bumped into a pretty girl in the school hall. She began to hurl insults and curses at him in front of his friends, embarrassing him. Quote, I felt like an insignificant, unworthy little mouse, end quote.
Don't bully.
He cites that as an incident that scarred him for life, bumping into a girl who got mad at him for doing it.
So he's very sensitive, you know.
Snowflake child.
I'm not going to make excuses.
No.
For him. I don't know what he's done yet, but, you know.
At the age of 12, he sees porn for the first time and admits that finding out about sex destroyed his life.
Oh.
He'd never have sex, and not getting any sex is what will shape the very foundation of my miserable youth.
Okay.
Elliot says. Elliot would act angry and annoying for attention. Claiming to be wounded deeply when he was teased by a girl he liked, he began to immerse himself in online games like World of Warcraft. Became nerd.
That's pretty standard for most kids. The girl I like doesn't like me back, so I'm just going to play World of Warcraft.
At 14, he transfers to a Catholic all-boys school where he's bullied and called a homophobic slur. It starts with F.
Ew. Wait, why did they call him that?
Because they're boys.
Okay.
There's no reason. They just do that.
They're just gross.
Yeah. And he has
food
thrown at him in the halls. He begins puberty and claims it banished him to a life of suffering and unfulfilled desires.
Okay, like seriously, don't bully kids.
Don't bully kids, because then they're going to grow up to be Elliot Roger.
One R.
One R.
Not one R. No
one
S.
Roger. One singular Roger.
One
Elliot singular Roger.
Roger.
Yes.
Weren't you the person who always said don't trust a guy with a first name for a last name?
Yes, you can't trust them. Won't do it. He writes in his manifesto, quote, "The most meanest and depraved men come out on top and women flock to these men. Their evil acts are rewarded by women, while the good, decent men are laughed at. I hated the girls even more than the bullies because of this."
Oh, so he hates women. Okay.
Oh, yes. Super misogynist.
Gotcha.
He was taken out of school at 15 and put into continuation school, which was essentially homeschool for 3 hours a day.
Okay.
And he goes back to London to stay with his father. At 17, he makes friends with a foreign exchange student staying with his dad. He's popular, and hanging out with him, he claims, turned his entire world around. But then he goes back to California.
I was going to say briefly.
Yeah. Making friends with a group of 3 guys online who he plays World of Warcraft with, he still feels like an outcast among this group when he finds out they oftentimes meet up at one of their houses without him. I've been there, dude. Definitely sucks.
Poor guy.
Still, processed my feelings differently. He reads history, politics, and sociology books and has fantasies of being powerful and stopping everyone from having sex.
Okay.
Quote, "I wanted to take their sex away from them, just like they took it from me." So now he thinks they have taken it from him, even though he never got it to begin with. At 19, he enrolls in community college. His only friend, a boy he met at karate class, who is also a virgin, so he feels they can relate to each other. Only it doesn't take long before this friend is disturbed by the way Elliot speaks and no longer wants to be friends with him.
That's fair.
Fair.
Creepy virgin.
Mm-hmm. Elliot moves to Santa Barbara, where his sexual anger turns racist.
Oh.
Especially when seeing interracial couples.
Come on, Elliot.
I'm not going to say the quote he put in his manifesto, but let's just say he doesn't find black men deserving of their pretty white girlfriends. He followed one interracial couple from a Starbucks after they were passionately making out. First of all, why are you passionately making out in a Starbucks? You maybe deserve what happens here. And he throws his drink on them. That's it.
Oh.
Maybe
okay.
deserved.
I was like, what is
this
deserving?
This is a Starbucks. All right. This is when he realizes.
Get a room.
Exactly. This is when he realizes he was capable of acts of cruelty and could happily do them. He says in his manifesto, "I was capable of killing them, and I wanted to."
Oh.
At 21, he joins a website forum full of men who were also sex-starved and hated women. They would talk about hurting women, but Elliot thought they were all too cowardly to act on it.
Great group. Great.
Good group.
Good
There
friends.
are tons of these groups, so much so that they have a name. And they're called incels. I'll explain this later.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Oh, I hate that.
You've probably encountered one.
What do you mean? Like in a person who's in an incel?
No, a person who is an incel.
Oh,
yes.
that's a person. That's what they're called.
Typically, they have a strong online presence, and they're typically very angry towards women.
Cool. Great. Don't at us.
Don't do it. They're going to at us. Okay, he crashes a UCSB party, so University of California, Santa Barbara, party on Del Playa Drive after a few drinks one night. What he tells cops and his parents is a far different story than what happened. He claims he was beaten up and had his leg broken, but the truth was different. Crashing the party as a last-ditch attempt to lose his virginity, he was ignored and became angry. Standing on a 10-foot ledge, he pretended to shoot at partygoers with his finger. He then started attempting to push several women off the ledge until a group of guys intervened and pushed Elliot off instead, resulting in his broken leg.
Goodbye.
So
Goodbye,
once
your leg.
the police started gathering stories from the party and realizing that Elliot was the aggressor, they dropped it and started pursuing Elliot.
Right.
Nobody was pressing charges, so that's
They're
why.
like,
They
stop
couldn't
pushing
press
girls.
Yeah, they couldn't press charges on Elliot because he didn't actually hurt anybody.
Right.
At 22, he starts to plan his attack.
Oh.
He plans to buy a third handgun. Already has 2, plans to buy a third just in case one jams. Writing that he needs 2 working guns as that is how he plans to commit suicide. Quote, "Humanity struck at me first by condemning me to experience so much suffering. I will punish everyone and it will be beautiful. Finally, at long last, I can show the world my true worth." Elliot makes a YouTube video entitled Day of Retribution. Is that how you say that? Elliot makes a YouTube video entitled Day of Retribution, where he sits in his black BMW and spews a hate-filled and sexist tirade.
Okay.
After a Google search, his mom finds the video and becomes alarmed.
Yeah.
Lee feels she has no other choice and calls the police on her son.
Good job, Lee.
Good job, Lee. After a visit to his apartment, Elliot is able to convince them that he isn't a threat.
Okay.
And they leave.
Okay.
Peter Rogers says if they had done a firearms search, they would see he had 3 handguns and had already began practicing at a nearby shooting range. And perhaps reconsidered and perhaps stopped what's about to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not their fault, but...
It's law enforcement's fault that they didn't look into it further. Yeah. Their mom said, the mom said, my son is a threat.
Oh, the police went to question him.
The police went to question him after his mom called them.
I thought
it was like, he's not a threat.
Oh, I thought his parents went over there. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The police did not do their job.
Well, here's the thing is, like, don't you need, like, probable cause to do a search warrant?
They don't need a search warrant. They can, he's registered firearms.
Oh.
So they just have to see that he has registered 3 handguns.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah. You should give those
They
up,
can
buddy.
also see that he's been going to a firing range.
Yeah, and here's the problem, is he has a right to bear arms.
He does.
So,
but attached to this YouTube video that's going on this crazy tirade where he's talking about wanting to murder people.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Changes things.
I do wonder what the law is there because you got to ask yourself, like, is talking about it illegal? Or is that freedom of speech?
I think it's threatening.
Yeah. But is he threatening a specific person or not? That's the problem. Like,
it wasn't specifically targeted, but in his YouTube video, he is basically alluding to the fact he is going to commit mass murder.
Right. Which, like, I mean, I totally agree. Oh, I had some rice on my wine.
I think that YouTube video alone was probable cause to get a search warrant.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it could be under the clause of freedom of speech, like if he's not actually doing anything. That's the issue.
That's the thing. He convinced them he wasn't going to do anything, and he was just speech. So they left.
I know. It's like I question these things because I wonder what needs to change in order for that to actually have happened.
Exactly.
Or was it a mistake?
And here's the thing. His dad even talks about this, that he was never officially diagnosed. Like, he went to therapists, he went to psychologists, but he was never officially diagnosed. So if there were mental health background checks before giving guns, his son still would have been allowed to buy these guns.
Right. So, I mean, it interests me because, you know, I sit here and I'm hearing this and I'm like, okay, is this the fault of the police department or were their hands tied in this? Like, they couldn't do anything because of whatever laws are in place. Like, I don't know.
There's so many stories like this where it sounds like police failings when it might be law failings.
Yeah.
And there's clearly a lot of things that need to change.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to gun laws.
Yes. Totally. And that's why I'm asking the questions because I'm curious to see I'm just speaking it into existence out loud because it's stuff that I'm questioning whether or not they're at fault for not searching.
Right.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Ugh.
I know.
God, that makes me so upset. I'm going to drink my wine.
Yeah. So these are the events of May 23rd. 2014.
Also, I'm just procrastinating getting to the awful part.
That's okay. We're at the awful part now.
Okay.
Elliot begins at his apartment on Seville Road, where he waits by the entrance of his apartment building. Upon entering the building, Elliot stabs 3 men multiple times, killing them.
Men? Okay.
He's just stabbing whoever comes in the door.
Gotcha.
Elliot attempts to clean the hallway between killings. 2 of these men were his roommates.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So maybe those were intentional, but there was nothing to prove that it was.
So he's not even using the gun at this point. So that's kind of
He hasn't used it yet, no.
Yeah.
So he leaves and goes to a nearby coffee shop for coffee after he's just killed 3 people.
All right, gotta go get some Starbucks. Those people better not be making out anymore.
That's the thing. Like, you encounter so many people every day, and there's that thing where, like, there's a 25% chance you've walked past a serial killer in your life.
I think about that all the time.
A murderer in your life. How many times have we interacted with someone so normally, and they may have just killed somebody?
Yeah. I think about that all the time.
All the time.
Like,
so this
probably
barista just sold coffee to somebody who just murdered 3 people.
Yeah,
and then just went for coffee.
I probably think about that more than normal.
Yeah, all the time. At 8:30 p.m., he is seen on his laptop in his car at his apartment. So he uploads his retribution video at 9:17 p.m. He sends his manifesto to his therapist and parents at 9:18 p.m.
Oh.
His father does not read the manifesto for 3 weeks, but his mother becomes immediately alarmed. So we stand Lee in this house.
Yes, we do.
After the email, both parents and stepmother get in the car to race the 100 miles to Isla Vista, frantically trying to reach Elliot. Several miles out from their destination, they start seeing reports of a black BMW involved in an incident. Lee begins to call the sheriff, who leads her to a nearby Home Depot parking lot to wait.
Hold on. He has a black BMW?
Yeah, his dad's a filmmaker.
Right.
Yeah. He has designer stuff.
Wow.
He looks like he's fine.
Yeah.
After sending the video and manifesto, Elliot drives to Alpha Pi, sorry. I'm gonna mess up because Santa Barbara has wacky street names. At Ambasadario de Norte.
I wouldn't know how to say that.
Ambasadario de Norte. That's
you
wrong.
know, just commit to it.
And Segovia Road near UCSB. He knocks for several minutes, then begins shooting nearby, killing 2 women and injuring 1. He begins driving again. He fires into an empty coffee shop, then into a delicatessen, striking a man inside 7 times and killing him.
Oh my God.
He then drives south on the wrong side of the road. He hits a pedestrian. He fires and misses 2 people on the sidewalk. He shoots a couple exiting a pizzeria and a female cyclist. He shoots and misses another woman. He turns east on Del Playa Drive and makes a U-turn to go west. He engages in a shoot-off with a deputy and hits 2 more pedestrians with his car. He turns north on Camino del Sur and shoots and wounds 3 on Sabato Tarde Street. He strikes a skateboarder and 2 cyclists with his car and turns east on Sabato Tarde, striking another skateboarder. He shoots 2 men at the intersection.
Oh my God. He's busy.
He's very busy. Stabbing, shooting, hitting people with his car. On Sabato Tarde near Little Acorn Park, he begins another shoot-off with 3 sheriff deputies, and he's shot in the hip. He's pursued by the police and strikes 1 more cyclist with his car before crashing. At 9:35 p.m. So it's literally been 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
Less than that. Police find Elliot in his car with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. They find 3 handguns, several knives, 6 empty 10-round magazines, and 548 rounds of unused ammunition. 548 rounds.
So he had intentions.
Oh, yes.
But he was like, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. So Elliot's parents are informed of their son's death by a sheriff in the Home Depot parking lot. But they, at this point, don't know that he's mass murdered.
They just heard that he committed suicide.
They just heard a body has been found in a car whose identification matches your son.
Oh, no.
The mom starts going, what, no, what do you mean, no? And
Yeah.
the sheriff just repeats that again. A body has been found in a car with ID that matches your son. Won't tell them more than that. Can't tell them more than that.
Oh, my God. Like
They start finding out,
Yeah.
through their phone that their son has killed these people and done all this.
Honestly, Izzy, not the time. Honestly, we've talked about this, I think, in a previous show. I just can't fathom
being the parent,
especially knowing
these 2 seemed loving and they tried to do their best.
That he had a good upbringing, and still, it begs the question.
His dad gave an interview, and that was one of my sources. He gave an interview with ABC News, and with Barbara Walters, where he tried to explain that his son was sick.
Yeah.
That clearly something had happened to him, that this was untreated mental illness, that it was failing on a lot of people, including the parents and the psychologist, for not seeing it and being able to treat it. But that it was that nightmare of, they thought their son was a sweetheart, because that was who, he was sweet. He was this, he was really cute.
Yeah.
I don't know why girls weren't touching him, probably because he was being angry and weird, on purpose. But yeah, his dad made a big case for this is what happens when you don't address mental health and don't help it.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you have to be mentally unwell to do this.
Absolutely.
You can't not be.
Absolutely. But it's the first time I've seen a parent not make excuses for their kid.
Yeah.
He didn't make excuses for them, but he explained, look, we have to do more for mental health.
Yeah.
We have to do more for gun control.
Yeah, it does. It begs the question, nature versus nurture. Everybody talks about this.
It doesn't sound like his parents did anything.
Yeah.
This was his biological makeup. This was his brain.
Jesus.
This was going to happen.
Oh, that's scary.
But after his death, Elliot was heralded as the king of the incels online. So an incel is an involuntarily celibate man who is unable to find a partner. They tend to lead towards online trolling, anger, and sometimes violence towards women. They blame everyone but themselves, and they're smothering misogyny for why women won't touch them. So these are like the toxic masculinity at its best. I'm a virgin, it's your fault. It's not because there's something wrong with me, it's because you're messed up. It's your problem.
Wow. Yeah, like, sorry, bro, but that's especially not going to get you laid.
No, sorry. So I want to take a moment just to say the victims' names.
Yeah.
Because we always give a lot of Izzy.
Not now.
We always give a lot of attention to the perpetrator and not whose lives they took. So again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce these names. I don't mean to. We had George Chen, he was 19. We had Cheng Yun Hong, he was 20. Izzy! She's just in agony over this.
Izzy, come here. Come here.
We have Wei Han Wang, who's 20. Catherine Cooper, 22. Christopher Michaels Martinez is 20. And Veronica Weiss is 19. 14 were injured, 7 shot, 7 blunt force trauma from his car. So my sources, obviously Wikipedia for the Isla Vista killings, ABC News article, Secret Life of Elliot Rodger. This is the interview with his dad. And then a YouTube video, which breaks down his manifesto. I did not check because personally I didn't care to see it. If his YouTube video is still up, I'm on the fence whether or not I want to put it on Patreon.
I don't think we should. I don't want to give
we put the death tape of Jonestown, but this specific one, incels are so targeted online that I don't think we need to give him any more presence online.
Yeah, I don't really want to give him a voice.
So obviously if that's something that you feel the need to search out, do you, but we're not going to post his garbage on the internet.
Yeah, right. You can look it up.
Exactly. So yeah, that was Elliot singular Rodger.
Wow, that was pretty awful.
Yeah.
That was pretty freaking awful.
Yeah.
And the people who died were so young. Like, that's just
so young. The oldest was 22. And what's crazy is it wasn't even all women.
No.
And that's who he was most angry at.
It was just meaningless.
Yeah. And it's all because poor him. He was 22 and a virgin. I am sorry.
There's so many
not even that old for a virgin.
There are so many 22-year-old virgins out there.
So many. Holy crap.
It's very normal.
It's very, very normal.
Wow.
Honestly, I would say more people should. Here's my advocacy. It's a controversial, but I've always said I think you should, wait until your body's fully matured before you let somebody into it.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, should we move on to
serial killers?
Just more murder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm just excited to tell you about this person.
I can't wait to hear.
I don't know why.
Do you think I know who it is?
I don't.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about the longest operating serial killer west of the Mississippi.
Well, the Mississippi?
West of the Mississippi. AKA California. Lonnie Franklin.
Lonnie Franklin. Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. He might later.
Okay. Does he have a serial killer name?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get into it.
Cool.
Okay, so
I love when they have serial killer names.
Lonnie Franklin was born on August 30th, 1952 in South Central Los Angeles. Izzy, we're talking about serial killers.
It's not bedtime.
Come here.
You're on the clock.
Come here. Oh, yes. Hurry. Thank you. I like when you hurry.
Yes.
It's very funny.
You should hurry. You're on the clock.
Okay. So we're in South Central LA. Lonnie joined the U.S. Army, and on April 17th, 1974, he and 2 other Army men kidnapped a 17-year-old girl who was walking to the train station around 12:30 a.m. This was in Germany, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that.
No, I thought it was in LA.
No. So he joined the Army and was sent to Germany.
Okay.
He was stationed there. So a little after midnight, they kidnapped the 17-year-old girl who was waiting at the train station. So she's asking for directions, and they lured her into their car after offering her a ride. So once she was in the car, one of the men held a knife to her throat and brought her to a remote location where she was brutally raped and photographed during the attack by the 3 men, including Lonnie. After the attack on the drive home, the young girl pretended to be interested in the men, and asked for their phone number.
Smart girl.
Franklin was the only one who provided his.
Dumb man.
Yes. She informed the police, and they staged a coup, luring Franklin to a train station and arresting him.
Is it a coup or is it a coup?
Oh, it's probably a coup.
Okay.
Anyway, ESL. English is my second language.
That's true.
I was taught to speak English by French people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was tried and convicted of rape and kidnapping charges. And he was sentenced to 40 months in prison, but he served under 1 year.
40 months for rape.
And kidnapping, yes.
And kidnapping.
That's
okay.
it.
All right.
So on July 24th, 1975, naturally, he was discharged from the U.S. Army.
1975?
Yes. So 1975. So later he is employed as a sanitation worker in LA. This gave Lonnie plenty of knowledge of where all the city's best hiding spots were.
Oh, good.
City alleyways, dumpsters, landfills, you know the drill.
Mm-hmm.
Franklin's first known victim was 29-year-old Deborah Jackson, whose body was discovered on August 10th, 1985, shot 3 times in the chest and dumped in an alleyway. I will note that Deborah Jackson was a sex worker.
Okay.
And she was Black.
Okay.
This is important.
Yeah.
For later. So 1 year later, in 1986, Franklin married a woman named Sylvia and had 2 children together.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't slow Franklin down, however. He targeted vulnerable women, all poor and all Black, many of whom were addicted to crack cocaine and involved in prostitution.
Because he knew nobody would care.
Yeah. No, Lonnie was also Black.
Oh, so
for
he,
reference.
Yeah, well, I know that, but yeah.
Yeah. Not to say that this is a white man killing Black woman. Unfortunately, It's a Black man killing Black woman.
Right.
Which is terrible.
I mean, no matter what color spectrum you're on, Black women are the least valued human life.
Especially sex workers.
Yes.
So in August 1986, 34-year-old Henrietta Wright's body was found under a discarded mattress. The following years, the bodies of 23-year-old Barbara Ware and 26-year-olds Bernita Sparks and Mary Lowe were discovered. Sparks' body was found in a trash bin. In 1988, the bodies of 22-year-old Latrika Jefferson and 18-year-old Alicia, who went by Monique Alexander, were found. So it's just important to note that he
clearly has anger towards these women.
Yes, he has anger towards women. He clearly treated them like
nothing.
Garbage.
These poor women, they deserve better.
So they'd all been shot with a .25 caliber handgun. The same individual's DNA was found on the breasts of each woman, but at the time, in the mid-'80s, DNA technology was in its infancy. And so detectives were not able to use the DNA to track Franklin down.
Okay.
It was clear to the LAPD at this stage that they had a serial killer on the loose, obviously. But they kept this information a secret from the public to prevent Franklin from fleeing. This, naturally, created a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Because had Black women in South Central Los Angeles knew they were being targeted by a serial killer, maybe
they would have been careful.
They would have been more cautious. Yes.
Resulting in less Black women murdered.
Yeah, so...
but they don't care.
Clearly, this created a racial debate of the significance this case may or may not have had on the LAPD. Mm-hmm. So in late 1988, 30-year-old Anyetra Washington was walking to her friend's house when a Black man in an orange Ford Pinto pulled up next to her, offering
Why is
her...
it always orange?
Not very conspicuous over there. In your bright orange car.
Always orange.
So he pulled up next to her, offering her a ride, which she refused. He continued to press her, and eventually, getting frustrated, he said, quote, "That's what's wrong with you Black women. People can't be nice to you."
What?
Yes. Somehow,
oh God,
she was tired of being pestered, and she got into his car.
No.
Yes.
Oh, honey.
Yeah. Immediately upon getting in the car.
It's like the orange Pinto was just covered in red flags.
Yes, right?
She was like, I don't see red.
No. Immediately upon getting in the car, she was shot in the chest.
Immediately. Jeez.
Feeling the blood pool from her chest, she looked up at him and asked why he had shot her. He replied that she had disrespected him. He then savagely raped her, took her photo, and pushed her out of the car, leaving her to die.
She was alive while she was shot in the chest and raped.
And yet Washington survived.
I hate that. I mean, like, yeah, good,
Yes.
but I hate that.
Yes.
Oh.
And then she was able to give a physical.
No.
She was able to give a physical description of her perpetrator's appearance to a police sketch artist who produced composite sketches of the attacker. Upon removing the bullet from her chest, it was revealed that the bullet came from the same gun used on 7 other women.
Shock.
Yes. Now, in 1889, the LAPD zeroed in on their first suspect, which was Detective Ricky Ross.
Oh.
Yes, Detective Rick Ross.
Rick Ross.
I had to put that out there. He was working in narcotics. He was caught in his car smoking crack with a sex worker and had his vehicle searched.
What he does on his lunch break is up.
It's
It's only between Rick Ross and his crack pipe.
his crack pipe and his sex worker. So he had his vehicle searched, and eventually any investigation against him was dropped because he didn't fit the profile. He later filed a $400 million civil rights case against the LAPD for falsifying evidence. He didn't win, but eventually he did receive a lump sum from the LAPD. We obviously, spoiler alert, know that it wasn't Detective Ricky Ross.
It was not Ricky Ross.
I just thought it was important to mention.
Because his name's Rick Ross.
So, it would be another 14 years
Yuck.
before Lonnie Franklin struck again, seemingly having been spooked by leaving one of his victims to survive and identify him. This is what gave him the moniker, the Grim Sleeper.
The Grim Sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't heard of him.
Because he supposedly slept for 14 years.
Hibernated.
Yes.
Okay.
So after his hiatus, in March 2002...
We back, bitches!
Gosh.
I'm sorry.
15-year-old Princess Berthamue's body was found. She had been strangled, badly beaten, but not shot.
Princess.
Which is not his usual... What's the word I'm looking for?
M.O.
Yes, exactly. Was not his usual MO. Thank you for the vino. I love you long time. Again, in July 2003, the body of 35-year-old Valerie McCorvey was discovered, killed in the same manner. Both victims had been dumped in alleyways in South Central Los Angeles. The Grim Sleeper's 11th victim was taken in January 2007. The body of 25-year-old mother Janisha Peters was discovered naked and stuffed in a garbage bag in a deserted alleyway.
I hate the trash bins and the garbage bins because it's just so obvious you views these women as trash.
Yes. Peters was shot with a .25 caliber handgun, which fit the MO.
Right.
The original MO. So it sounds like, and now I'm just kind of riffing here, but it sounds like after 14 years, he wasn't satisfied with just shooting people, that he probably wanted to watch them die.
Yeah, he wanted it to be more brutal. He had built up probably this insane bloodlust.
Urge, yeah.
And he was angrier and had more violence.
Yeah. So as DNA samples were collected from Peters' body, they matched the DNA found at the crime scenes of the other women. Mm-hmm. In 2007, Bill Bratton, LA Police Commissioner, finally set up a task force to solve the murders. Yes, 2007.
Jesus.
Bratton never held a press conference or notified the public that Peters' murder was linked to 10 others dating back to 1985.
No, why would he?
Mm-hmm. Go figure.
Can you hear Izzy?
No. She's purring.
Loudly.
Izzy, are you a happy girl? I love you.
You a happy assistant? You're not a very good assistant.
No, you're very demanding.
But you assist. You assist. You do. You assist with things.
Like what?
Snuggle.
Christine Pelisek, a journalist who gave Lonnie Franklin Jr. the moniker The Grim Sleeper, claimed in her 2008 breakthrough piece entitled Grim Sleeper Returns, He's Murdering Angelinos as Cops Hunt His DNA, that Bratton...
That's a long-winded.
Yes.
That's a long-winded headline.
Yes. She claimed that Bratton and other officials were not interested in the murders because they occurred in poor areas and the victims were all Black women. Mm-hmm. She wrote in LA Weekly, quote, "Nobody with any pull, no homeowners association, No local chamber of commerce was demanding answers to 10 murders by the same guy in a poor section of town, end quote. Her piece was instrumental in informing the families of the victims that a task force to catch a killer had been set up and that their loved ones were victims of a serial killer. That was the first time they knew that.
God.
Yeah, terrible.
I just have to...
Let's get angry.
I just have to get angry for a second.
Yeah.
Because if this was a white woman named Stacy, they would have caught him in 1985.
Definitely.
It would not be in the 2000s.
No.
This man running wild, killing black women. They still refuse to say it in the public. And it takes a freaking journalist to let these families know that their loved ones were murdered by a serial killer.
Yep. So thank you, Christine.
And it is 2021 for you listeners. And the public and police force still do not give a flying shit about black women.
Nope. That's exactly true. Like,
and
this
it
is very...
so aggravating.
Yeah.
Because what they do for community, for this country, I mean, look at what they've done for this country just this year.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I picked this was I felt like it was timely, even though it happened just several years ago.
Sorry, Mom, but just please give a fuck about black women.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Makes me mad.
Ugh, okay, so anyway.
I'm not crying at the club.
By 2007, DNA technology had significantly advanced, and the DNA from the crime scenes were entered into the state's felon database and came out with a partial match. Christopher Franklin, Lonnie Franklin Jr.'s son, who had been entered into the state database in 2008 after being arrested on felony weapons and drug charges. The investigation now declares Lonnie Franklin Jr. as a key suspect.
Good. So the partial match eliminates Christopher, but says...
Yeah, because it says, like, it's someone related to Christopher.
All right.
And the only male, apparently,
Forensics
I'm guessing...
is so interesting.
Yeah, so the only match that they had was Lonnie. To collect his DNA, the LAPD followed him to a birthday party.
I like to call him the Lapta.
The Lapta? Yeah, so to collect his DNA, the Lapta followed him to a birthday party at a downtown LA restaurant. One officer posing as a busboy collects Franklin's fork, 2 cups, discarded napkins, and a partially eaten slice of pizza. The DNA extracted from these items matched the DNA found on the bodies of the 10 murdered women.
Man, they collected all the DNA.
Yes. Franklin was
getting away at this Chuck E. Cheese.
That's right. I don't know. Maybe he was at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Happy birthday. You're ending today. You're no longer a serial killer because your DNA.
Hey! That was a great song.
Thanks.
Franklin was arrested on July 7th, 2010.
Almost happy birthday to me.
I also feel really uncomfortable calling him Franklin because we have a friend that we call Franklin.
Who's wonderful.
Who's really great, so this feels weird. Anyway, during a search of his home, detectives found hundreds of unidentified women. Many of them nude, some beaten and bleeding. Some appeared unconscious or dead. Photos of the Grim Sleeper's 10 known victims.
Wait, so is this a married man who has a child, or he just has a child?
He had 2 children with a woman that he was married to, yes. He was still married to her.
Was she white?
No.
Okay, so she just wasn't a sex worker, so that made her worthy of living, I guess. That always blows my mind when they're so violent towards women, but yeah, this wife gets a free pass. But also, imagine being that wife and finding out.
Here's the thing. There's not much information on his family.
So he could have been abusive. He could have
been, but we don't know.
I mean, his son has a history, and that tends to come from messed up childhoods.
Right. And I hate to say this, but they did live in South Central Los Angeles, which is a very...
They're not set up to...
Exactly.
To succeed.
Yeah, it's a rough neighborhood, and I mean that in the instance that...
they're not given the tools.
Yeah, they're not...
Yeah.
There's no opportunity for them to grow. So hundreds of photos. Included in these photos were the 10 known victims.
Okay.
Including one of survivor Washington. Were found in this collection.
Jeez.
But the photos led authorities to believe that Franklin may never have actually been sleeping.
Right.
He
just got more careful.
Yeah. He could have actually been responsible for a much greater number.
Yuck!
Yes, of South Central LA's unsolved murders than originally thought. The LAPD later released 180 of the photos found in Franklin's home in order to help identify
180.
some of the victims. They were unable to identify or find, and I'll post that because I think it'd be helpful if anybody actually does know any of these people
to identify them.
Yeah.
Also, as a side note, sorry, but when learning about serial killers and getting as in depth with serial killers as I have gotten, and you are now getting,
yes.
Honest and truly, I think I've maybe heard of 2 Black serial killers. They are always white, middle-aged, typically mustachioed men.
Well, I was going to comment on this. Actually, I have heard that this is actually still part of the white privilege.
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
White serial killers get more media,
Yeah.
more time because
it's sexier.
They get more attention.
I mean, some of these serial killers are known to be sex icons.
Yeah, Ted Bundy,
who, look at that unibrowed mother. He is ugly as hell. I do not understand. I mean, I don't know if the 70s had a thing for unibrows, but, like, homie was not good looking. And everybody just, like,
yeah. Well, it's like the Atlanta murders.
My bro, Vampire of Sacramento, was better looking than Ted Bundy.
Yeah, it's like the Atlanta murders where Black boys were killed. Many Black boys were killed, and some survivors described a Black assailant.
But it wasn't.
No, it was.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Well, it might have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's unsolved.
Okay.
So nobody actually knows. I listened to a podcast that was like a series podcast about the Atlanta murders. And actually, I think HBO has a documentary about it that I did watch as well.
Oh, interesting.
It's really, really good. And it's very interesting. And it does make you question a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Black serial killers are not given the same, not to say that
not
they
that
should
there's
be
less
getting,
of them, but they're not given the same media attention because they're not as, they don't even.
Yeah. It's
a weird, it is. It's a weird form of white privilege.
It's a weird form of white privilege, but they're not as talked about because of this. And that's another reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I felt like, not that I want to shine a light on Lonnie Franklin, but I was like, nobody ever talks about this, so I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a quote from LA Police Chief Charlie Beck, who was the chief at the time.
Police chief.
Yes. He said, quote, "We certainly don't believe we are so lucky or so good as to know all of his victims. We need the public's help." So that's why they publicized the 180 photos.
Yeah, that's when it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's exploiting dead
right.
bodies,
They were just trying to identify these
You
women.
saw these pictures?
Yeah, most of them are, they're not dead or like...
But they're dying.
Injured. They're like photographed. I mean, some of these, sounds like a lot of the experiences where he would buy a sex worker.
Take their picture.
He would take their picture and he would flirt with them and he would ask them to do things. And he was very, he was very nasty.
Right.
Like he wanted them to do
degrading stuff.
Degrading things. A lot of the experiences that I had heard about were, just, and he would brag to his friends about these sexual experiences. He would never brag about killing people, but he would brag about these.
Oftentimes, serial killers brag to their friends.
Yeah.
If you have a gross friend who brags about stuff, he's probably got bodies in his freezer. I'm just saying.
So police also suspect Franklin in the murder of 36-year-old Thomas Steele.
A boy?
Yes, he was a friend of one of the victims. His body was discovered in August 1986, but there was no DNA at the crime scene. So to confirm Franklin's involvement, iffy.
Okay. Alleged.
But because he was a friend of one of the victims, it seemed maybe he knew something, or I don't know.
Yeah. Probably far-fetched.
Yeah. So it wasn't until February 2016 that Lonnie Franklin Jr.'s trial began.
2016.
Yes, he was arrested in 2007. But, he spent all that time in jail.
Okay, well, all right.
Yeah. And on May 5th, 2016, the jury found Franklin guilty of 10 counts of murder.
Only 10?
Well, that was the only ones that they had his DNA. Yeah. 10 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. He was sentenced to death. Washington was finally able to confront him. She said to him, quote, "You're truly a piece of evil. You're a Satan representative. You're right up there with Manson," end quote.
He's worse than Manson.
Yeah.
because Manson didn't actually kill anybody.
Well, that we know of. So Lonnie Franklin Jr. died in his prison cell in San Quentin State Prison on March 28th, 2020. So literally just this year.
Yeah.
Of unknown causes at the age of 67.
Might have been COVID.
Could have been. I looked everywhere to find, because I was kind of curious.
The reason, yeah.
And there was no cause. There was no signs of trauma either, so it's not like he got into a fight or anything like that.
Honestly, might have been COVID.
Could have been. Who knows? But in 2019, California Governor Gavin Newsom announced he was halting the executions of California's 700 plus death row inmates for as long as he was governor. So inevitably,
good thing Newsom's done.
Yeah, inevitably, Lonnie Franklin's execution would have been postponed.
Stayed anyway.
Yeah. Well, it would have been postponed because Gavin Newsom announced that he was halting all the executions.
Right, that's what it's called, a stay of execution.
Oh, yeah. So he just died before he could have been executed, which is fine because he was clearly guilty of all these crimes. So my sources were an article for allthat'sinteresting.com titled 25 Women Over 22 Years Inside the Stranglings, Shootings, and Slayings of the Grim Sleeper, and an episode of the podcast Serial Killers that covered the Grim Sleeper, and a documentary called Tales of the Grim Sleeper. And that one was where I kind of got more insight on his personal life with like his friends, like where he was kind of bragging to his friends. There was also an incident that happened in the documentary where that I didn't find anywhere else, so I'm not sure how true it is, but there was a point where they were talking about how when he had his incident with Washington where she survived, he called her, I think it was by the name Brenda.
Okay.
And while he was yelling at her, and apparently he had a previous wife named Brenda. So he like had a severe hatred towards women. Because of Brenda? Apparently. I don't know what happened there. Jeez. There's also some speculation that he hated drug use. Like he was like punishing sex workers for using drugs.
Because of his son? But how old was his son?
Older. Like not at the time. Like he was young at the time. So I don't think that has anything to do with that. I don't know. But interesting. All of his friends in the neighborhood were like, yeah, he was nasty, but like he never gave off the impression that he would kill somebody.
No, they never do.
So, I mean, he was like described as like a quiet man.
Always. They're quiet.
You know, they're nice.
They keep to themselves.
A pillar in the community, you know, totally normal and nice.
Yeah.
But that his relationship with his wife was very like separate. A lot of people claim that they never saw them together.
So it was like just inside the home.
Yeah. So I don't know what the deal was with that, but Sylvia refuses to speak on Lonnie.
I mean, I don't blame her.
I don't blame her either. So
she should not have to take responsibility for her disgusting husband's actions.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the story of the Grim Sleeper.
Interesting. And topical.
Yes, dark and twisty.
Anyway, fury.
I'm pretty desperate to talk about something wonderful.
Yeah?
Yeah. Do you have something wonderful to tell me?
Yeah.
What could it be?
I obviously judge away. I went to Chicago for Christmas. I was COVID tested 2 days after I got there. And because of that, I got to meet my brand new cousin.
Yeah.
Everly Rose.
Cutie.
Who slept in my arms for an hour, masked. And she is a peanut angel. And I'm going to have another new cousin in March that I can't wait to meet.
So new family. That's very exciting.
New family is something wonderful. But I also got to spend just one-on-one time with my mom in quarantine.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good to get some time with people who've been alone and who need that human connection.
Totally.
Like I said, we binge-watched Gilmore Girls. We watched a lot of Jane Austen era movies.
So swoon.
We made a whole homemade afternoon tea spread. I mean, 2 different kinds of scones.
It looked like phenomenal.
It was really good. We were really proud of ourselves.
Amazing. I was really jelly, and I was like, when are we going to do this?
I've been saying we need to do this, but then COVID happened.
Yeah, we'll want to do it with our girlfriends.
Absolutely.
So
we need to have a high tea, fancy dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Scone it up.
I know a few women that would be very into that.
Yeah. It'll be a good time.
Yes, let's do that.
We will. It wasn't even that hard.
I kind of want to bandwagon off of yours a little bit.
Go
I do
ahead.
have a different How Wonderful, but it was really nice to spend quality time with those that I was quarantined with, which was my mom, my dad, and my aunt, Nancy.
She was also COVID tested.
Yeah, they were all COVID tested. Well, my mom and my aunt Nancy were. My dad was not.
Of course not.
But they came out negative, which is great. And I did too.
If both of the people quarantining with your dad are negatives, then your dad was negative.
Not that being negative is a free pass, but
no, it's not. But we took every precaution, and we decided mental health and time with our family was just as important.
Yeah, and we're quarantining as we speak. So
as we speak, yes.
Anyway, it was really great because my Aunt Nancy has 3 kids that are clearly my cousins, and we got to FaceTime them, which one or two of them, well, one of them specifically I hadn't seen in a really long time. So that was really, really wonderful to get to see my cousins I love.
They listen to this, don't they?
Melanie listens to it pretty religiously.
So shout out to Melanie and Stephanie Melanie. And Jesse.
Yay, we love you guys so much.
I know Jess listens.
Jess listens. He's like, I think pretty behind, but he does listen.
And all I have to say to Jesse, no one is going to get this, but just let Aaliyah have a sip of the beer, man. That's going to hurt.
Oh, man. But yeah, my cousins are really special to me. So it's just like a mini shout out to them because they,
You got some Zoom time with fam.
Yeah, we just connect on a very special level for people that I don't communicate with extremely often or see very much. Anytime we do speak, there's just a very strong connection there. And
definitely.
I don't know why it is that way, but it just
Some people you just bond with. I have one of those cousins.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't have to see them or speak to them all that often, but it's like they're almost like brother, sister to you.
Yeah, totally.
It's just that bond.
Yeah. So I love the 3 of them very, very, very deeply.
Yeah.
I also got to Zoom with my dad's side of the family, which was really great.
Yeah.
I got to see all of them, which was fun. And like a couple of my cousins were like texting me privately during it. So that was like really cute and fun to have like those little moments with them that I don't really get to talk to that
Pat
often.
and Sebas.
Yes, exactly. And Eric was also messaging me privately. But my family is all in Canada. Me and my parents are the only ones in the United States, so I don't get to see my family as much as I would love to see them.
Top priority once COVID's over.
So yeah, once COVID is over, that's my next step. But my real wonderful that I was gonna say is my mom, my aunt, and I powered through The Undoing, which
The
I got
Undoing
texting
is
you.
so good. I know.
Yes.
I watched it. My mom watched it separately, but
if you haven't seen it, just like
leave the hype.
Go see it and praise Nicole Kidman the entire time you're watching it, please.
And her amazing hair. Can we just take a moment? Nicole Kidman's natural hair color.
Like,
I died.
And her curls.
Oh. And that green coat.
Oh, I want that coat.
I covet.
Yes, I want that coat. I love green because I have hazel eyes. Yes. So green is my color.
Yes.
But I need that coat.
It's so beautiful. Her coatage was amazing.
Anyway, besides the way
and Noah Jupe.
Yes. Oh my God, he's so good.
The kid.
And Hugh Grant was phenomenal in it.
Hugh Grant is phenomenal. Was just, I completely understand why he gave up rom-coms after Did You Hear About the Morgans?
Like literally yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Me and B were talking and I was telling her how we watched The Undoing and I literally just started yelling in our apartment. I just started yelling The Undoing and I just kept yelling The Undoing over and over again, hoping my neighbors would hear and they would be influenced to watch it.
We're influencers now. That's how you do it, right? You just scream things in your apartment until people do it.
And then you photograph yourself screaming it.
Influence.
Or you do like we're doing, we record a podcast where we're so alive. We're like sitting in our apartment, drinking wine, talking about being influencers on our podcast.
Toads influencers. Just as another influencer. As me and my friend and our friend, Jamie, have been... we get in bed separately at night. She's in her apartment. I'm in my apartment. But we make time at night to watch a show simultaneously together.
Yeah.
And we watched the entirety of Gossip Girl, devoured that. That was a rewatch for me, first time watch for her.
So good.
Can't wait for the reboot.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
especially HBO
It's
Max
gonna- yeah, I was
reboot,
gonna say
it
it's on
looks
Max,
really
right?
good, and their cast is diverse. I'm already in.
Yeah. Their
And,
cast is sexy.
and it exists in a universe that the original Gossip Girl cast exists in, so there's always opportunity
Yeah.
for cameos. Anyway, and now we're on Dexter.
Yes.
So
Oh.
I have only watched Dexter once. I've watched Gossip Girl through about 3 times. This was my
Yeah.
4th one. I've only watched Dexter once, so I've forgotten like 80% of Dexter.
So it's like new to you almost.
It is new to me. I think the only thing I remembered was the 4th season with
Yeah.
Trinity.
So if you've seen it, then you know what
You know
happens in the
exactly
fourth.
what I'm talking
Everyone
about.
knows exactly what the 4th season of Dexter means.
When
if
I
you've
say
seen
the
it.
4th season of Dexter and you've seen it, you automatically are like, nope, trauma. It's
You're like
PTSD.
you're like gasp.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're on the 5th season now.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Dexter, because it's coming back, and hopefully they end it the way they should, because the series finale was a cop out.
I love all these reboots. I want.
I'm living for it.
I want Gilmore Girls to do a second reboot so bad.
I know they already did it. Do it again. I want to see what happens with Rory. I want Jess to be Rory's Luke.
Yes.
Even though, like,
yes.
I get it, everybody hates Rory. I kind of hate Rory, but like,
I don't care.
I don't care.
I just love Jess.
I just love the Stars Hollow universe.
Me and a couple of my coworkers, Megan and Tessa, were
Team
raving.
dressing.
Oh my god, we were team dressing so hard.
I mean,
at
Jess was obviously the superior boyfriend.
Oh, he was like, but here's the thing. He was a shithead when he was young.
Yes.
And then he got better, and then they just couldn't work it out. And then as an adult,
He's the only.
he's like, oh.
He's the only one of Rory's boyfriends that grew up.
And he's the only one of Rory's boyfriends who I think genuinely knew her.
Yes, and cared about her.
Like
supported her.
Yes, like lifted her up as who she was and didn't try to change her.
No.
Didn't try to change her. Most importantly, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Wrote a Gilmore Girls soapbox and hyped. And now they might reboot Sex and the City.
Mm-hmm.
Sans Samantha, which, I mean, I'm here for Kim Cattrall saying cast a black woman to be their 4th friend.
A non-white woman, yeah.
Yeah, or a non-white woman in general.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, part of me is like, okay, I still love Miranda, Carrie, and Charlotte, but no Samantha. I don't know if I can watch it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna watch it, but
obviously.
But I'm gonna be sitting there like, something's missing.
Where is Samantha?
I don't know how to fix it.
I thought your headphone case was Izzy, and I almost started petting it.
So not how big is he? If you had started petting my headphone case.
Apparently that bottle of wine hit me.
A little bit.
Right at the end.
We ate fish. And I feel like it's easier to get drunk on fish.
We had a very healthy dinner. It was actually very yummy. I made salmon and asparagus and some rice pilaf. I made salmon.
Salmon's such a lovely color for bathrooms. Oh, we gotta pick topics. Oh, is this the only one I have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're down to the bottom of the pile.
Let's see, what do I have?
I know what I have.
Paranormal activity.
And I have lore.
Ooh.
And boy, do I have a topic for you.
Oh, you already do?
I already do.
Did you already did it?
Research, yeah.
Oh, unfair. I did not know this was my topic. I don't think that far ahead.
Oh, whoops.
I didn't know.
That's okay. That's a fun one.
I didn't know. It's okay.
That's like the most fun one. Paranormal.
For me, yes.
Yeah. For me too.
So you are liking it more than when we started this. She was all like, "I hate ghosts." Yeah, and you had the most fun with it.
It's way more fun to research.
It is. Ghost stories are so fun because there's no limit.
Mm-hmm. But my lore story has some paranormal in it, and it's
fun.
Really cool.
Oh my god! I can't wait till we can go places. I want to go to places. I want to go to Bisbee.
I know. I want to go there too. I want to go in the little trailer. I want to go in a
trailer.
I want to live in a trailer.
I want to go to Queen Mary and make my mom mad. What if we did an entire episode doing that? Like we're a little bit Alexis. Tanya's never seen Schitt's Creek.
No, but I will.
She's going to, and it may be one we have to watch together.
It's actually one of those shows. Like, so we talked about this yesterday. I have this weird habit where when I really love something, I wait.
Puts it off.
I put I loved the show The OA on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but it's amazing. Anything Britt Marling does, I think, is phenomenal. So I watched all of season 1, and then I got to the last 2 episodes of the OA of season 2, and I stopped watching it because I wanted to hold on to those last 2 episodes for as long as I could because I wanted to have something to look forward to. So, and I've heard, I have been hearing about Schitt's Creek.
You still haven't watched it?
Schitt's Creek?
No, the OA.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you finished it.
I actually did finish it.
Schitt's Creek, yeah, forever. There's memes. There's things. You just
Yes.
don't understand. I think after The Vow, we watched Schitt's Creek together, yes?
After Sharp Objects. But Schitt's Creek is one of those shows that even before you
Oh, yeah, same.
Before
Saw
you got
memes,
into it.
saw stuff.
Yeah, my friend Graham, Juliana, and Josh, they were all telling me about the show.
Yeah.
Like, you have to watch Schitt's Creek. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to love this show. I'm going to wait.
Yep, because you're going to love it so much.
Because I know how much I'm going to love it.
You might love Schitt's Creek more than, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you might love it more than Friends and The Office combined.
We'll see.
It is, because
I am loving
Dan
Parks and Rec.
Levy created a world that is free of homophobia and judgment, and these people just exist in it free of hate and judgment.
Yeah.
So it's like the universe we all want to exist in.
Yeah.
And it's pure.
Oh.
And Eugene Levy is gold. And Catherine O'Hara is gold.
Yes.
And you're going to be so obsessed with Alexis.
I know.
It's not even going to be funny.
I
currently have 2 Schitt's Creek prints on above my bed. I have a Rose Apothecary, which she doesn't know what that means. And then I have like a cast print. I just love them.
I will love it. I know I will.
You will love it. So you have some time. The Vow, Sharp Objects, tune in. We're gonna watch Schitt's Creek.
We are currently working our way through The Vow, which is very interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. Watch The Vow if you have HBO Max.
Oh man.
We have ranted and raved and gone on forever.
Okay, so clearly we haven't recorded in a couple weeks. That's why we're going off.
We also haven't seen each other in like 9 days.
Yeah, we're just very chatty tonight. So anyway, you can find us at www.howawfulpodcast.com. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're at How Awful Podcast. You can find us at our Patreon, which I mentioned earlier, which is patreon.com/howawfulpodcast. We also have
things.
Yes. We also have a YouTube channel where we transcribe episodes for you, and that's at...
and by transcribe, they mean B hasn't done very many of her episodes that she needs to do.
Search us on YouTube, and you can find those episodes there. Subscribe, like, tell your friends.
Tell your wife, tell your dad.
And if you have any interesting stories to tell us, please email us at howawfulpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to read your stories on the show.
We really would.
We really would.
We really would.
Anyway, thanks for having us.
Who are you?
I'm Tanya Lee.
I'm B.
We've been How Awful.
Tonight I wanna get nasty. What you waiting for?
Hey.
What you waiting for?
Ariana.
Tonight I wanna get nasty. As always, we've been B and Tanya Lee. Our logo was created by MJ Savard, and our theme music courtesy of Nikki Lou.